Let me go in here and tell everybody how much One Piece sucks mega ass. How are you going to beat Kaido, one of the Yonkai, and then suddenly lose to Rob Lucci? I mean, what kind of guy? What kind of guy is that?
Yeah, so let's talk about how this Pluton reveal made no sense at all. First of all, Nico-Robin knew the location of Pluton the entire time since Alabasta, but she didn't tell anyone about it for unknown reasons. Nico-Robin knew that Pluton was on Wano the entire time, but she kept it a secret, even from the Straw Hat Pirates. You know, the same Straw Hat Pirates that risked their lives to save her. Did she forget that? Nico-Robin's character to me has been ruined beyond repair. On Wano, Nico-Robin met Oden's father, and Oden's father told her, yes, you see, Pluton is indeed on Wano. It was on Wano the entire time. She already knew it, and he just said, yeah, you're right, it's here. She knew that it was on Wano. Now she knows that it's under Wano. That's the only difference. And now, all of a sudden, she decides to tell the Straw Hats about Pluton. She tells Luffy about Pluton. She tells Franky about Pluton. And Luffy's response is, who cares? Let's move on. Oh, it's on Wano. Meh, who gives a shit? And Franky is also like, oh, it's on Wano. Oh, that's cool, I guess. Okay, let's move on. Let's go to the next arc. And now I'm gonna explain how this makes no sense at all, especially concerning Franky. Before we get to Franky, I want to say that this Pluton nonsense makes no sense at all. Why did Nico-Robin keep it a secret for 2 years and then all of a sudden say, yeah guys, it's on Wano, turning Wano arc? It's almost like Oda came up with the Pluton reveal at the last minute. It's almost like Oda is making shit up. But now let's talk about Franky. Franky's life was destroyed because of Pluton. He had to change his name. He couldn't see his family. He had to pretend to be a criminal. And his adoptive father, Tom, was murdered by the world government. They executed him because he had the blueprints for Pluton. And later, CP9 was sent to Water 7 to extort Franky for information about Pluton. They threatened to kill Franky's brother because of Pluton. The CP9 agents already murdered Franky's father. And then CP0, oh wait, I'm sorry, CP9, because CP0 didn't exist at the time. CP0 was literally made up by Oda turning Dressrosa. At the time, during the pre-timeskip era of One Piece, the strongest agency was always CP9. CP0 literally was never mentioned once until Dressrosa, because that makes sense, because Oda clearly didn't create CP0 at the last minute, like he did with Pluton reveal on Wano, like he did with Gear 5, like he did with a lot of things, okay? But now let's go back to Franky. So yeah, Franky's adoptive father, Tom, was killed, executed by the world government, and the world government sent assassins after Iceberg. So yeah, when it comes to Pluton and Franky, Pluton was Franky's nightmare. Pluton ruined Franky's life. So when Franky has the chance to finally destroy Pluton because Nico-Robin knows the location, Thanks to Odin's father, I guess. What does Franky do? Well, nothing. He's like, oh, it's on Wano? Cool. Okay, let's move on. Let's go to the next arc. And then Luffy also finds out from Nico-Robin that Pluton is under Wano. And Luffy is also like, oh, it's on Wano. Who cares? Let's move on. Huh? What? What do you mean? Let's forget about it. What do you mean? Let's move on. Did you two forget how much the world government wants Pluton? What they are willing to do to get their hands on Pluton? Did you just forget that? Did you really just forget that the world government murdered your father, Franky? They tried to assassinate your brother? How can you forget that? Yes, so let's move on. Let's pretend that this is Pluton because no one knows what Pluton actually looks like. So Pluton is under Wano, and who is there to protect it? Well, the only good fighters of Wano. Yamamoto, Kawamatsu, and Denjiro. These three are the only good fighters left at Wano. Kinemon and Raizo, they are okay, but let's be honest, they are not even top 100 strongest characters in One Piece. These three are supposed to stand against the world government, CP0, all the Marines, and before anyone is going to say that, well, getting to Wano is almost impossible, CP0 agents were on Wano. A Marine Admiral was on Wano. Getting to Wano isn't really all that hard. So because Luffy and Franky were so lazy that they didn't even bother to check where Pluton was, they didn't even care to destroy it, thanks to Luffy and Franky, these three characters are supposed to fight against tens of thousands of agents, Marines, pretty much anyone the world government sends. So these three characters have to do all of that because the Straw Hats were just so damn lazy. And before anyone is going to say, how do you know the world government is going to get their hands on Pluton? The same way I knew that Im-sama is going to turn into a Dragon Ball character who is going to blow up entire islands with energy attacks. The same way I knew that Rob Lutzi is going to have an awakening ability months prior. The same way I knew that Kaku is going to have an awakening ability. How do I know the world government will get their hands on Pluton? Well, it's because Oda is very predictable.